Welcome to another edition of FUTStock, where we discuss all things FIFA Ultimate Team. I am Mark Aguilera.
And I am Matt Metz-Lambourne.
And what have we got for you this week? Well, of course, the weekend league's just been and gone. Obviously, our depression is now being lifted because we're not actually strapped and plugged into FIFA directly like it is our great overlord and matrix-like machine. And we've obviously got some new observations to share with you about what's happened. So we're going to be looking at my wonderful formation. Is it my formation? I've given it to all of you, but the things I've been doing and see how that's been going on. And also Metz has got some of his own observations as well, including pace and defenders. This will be quite interesting. We're also going to be looking at a lot of things that happened, including the pre-crash crash. It's a real thing. The player of the month. It wasn't Joe Allen. Our Black Friday shopping list. And of course, as always, our Novelty In-Form of the week. So, Metz, we're going to start off with the weekend league. Where do we go from here? You go first, I guess.
Okay, so this weekend it's the first weekend league whereby people have received their monthly Foot Champs awards, and we've seen some pretty hilarious pack openings or rewards, I guess you want to call them, for this, whereby people who've been hitting elite have been getting over 50 informs and a legend thrown in for good measure. I got a bronze player because I only managed 2 weekend leagues and only got up to silver rank in both of those. So I got a Georgian bronze striker who I'll probably never use, but it's free, so I'm not going to complain or anything. But it sort of poses the question, why are the best FIFA players getting rewarded with cards that are going to make them even harder to beat? So therefore, further extending the skill gap, making the difference between the top level and the sort of even the medium tier level of players that much greater. Raises some concerns in my eyes. It's all very well and good fun getting a bunch of red cards and having a nice collection of informs on your shelf, but it's going to make them even harder than ever to beat.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's true to say we can't reward failure. We can only reward success.
Agreed.
So that's it. There we go. Catch up in the box. See you later. That's it. What more do you want? We can't reward failure. It's simple as that. When I say we, like where can you come from to reward failure and reward the worst players? How does it make sense? Other than to artificially boost up what they can do. And also, I mean, you could give some of the weaker players a in-form Lukaku, but it doesn't mean they're going to change. It's not going to change the results overnight. So, yeah, that's it. That's how I feel about it. I think that it has an opportunity to imbalance who gets informs and that kind of thing. I can see it from that point of view. But I think overall that it's always obvious that like the elite tier players are going to get the best things, always. And quite frankly, they deserve them. They play the most games. They are always there trying to buy packs and buy coins, but not buy coins. That's not what I meant. They always have loads of coins in their bank. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that really. There's not much I can do about it other than try and obviously improve my own results and hope that I get there. So as Drizzy once said, started from the bottom, now we're here.
Okay, nice one. So here's another spin on it. There's a potential here that I don't know how much EA have thought about, that they might be cannibalizing their own sales of like FIFA points and stuff by doing this, particularly at the top end. Streamers and elite players and YouTubers and whatnot probably spend more money on FIFA than anyone else. I think it's fair to say, right? Any other collective group in the FIFA demographic. But if they're getting all their informs for free, they're not going to be spending as much money on packs. Maybe they will, like this week when Striker Ronaldo comes out, and obviously they'll throw a few grand at it. But in terms of having an established club with loads of good players in it, the urge to go and rinse through packs is probably ever so slightly diminished because they have so much that they can use. Sure, they want to be first person on the block to get the latest and greatest cards, so then they'll have to. But in terms of having overall squad quality, they've got it. They don't need to keep dabbing into the market to get it. And is it going to end up costing EA money? Quite possibly.
Well, from that angle, then obviously it does raise some interesting questions. Obviously, your most active players and your players who contribute the most to the community and also to the economy, they should be getting the best rewards. It makes perfect sense. But also, if people are only getting like 50 informs in one go, it's just nuts. I don't know why you wouldn't be giving an elite player like 4 informs. I don't know why it has to be so vast. That probably needs some looking into. I mean, going from 55 to 4 informs is, well, it's an astronomical. That's 55 informs is 5 teams. Don't forget, if you think of it in that context.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
I think they should have given better players, but far less of them. So maybe give them 1 legend, give them a Suarez, Messi, Ronaldo type player, and the rest of us we get very average informs, but still nice to have. So no one's going to complain about it. Why does people need so many? Then all of them probably won't get used. They can't trade them, so it doesn't affect the market per se, apart from giving them a bit of leverage when it comes to doing squad building challenges that require informs that they don't want to keep. So yeah, a little bit strange.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a benefit it actually is for most people. Obviously, when you put it into that context, there's a top 100 now of the FUT champions, and then obviously you get the best rewards. That's 100 people, of which, as we know, millions of people play FIFA every weekend. How many get into actually the weekend league is another topic of discussion. But let's just say the player base is 10 million and 1 million get into the weekend league, which wouldn't be that unreasonable. 10% get in. That's a hell of a lot of players, and the very, very top do deserve rewards. But I don't understand the strategy. I'm not saying that it's the wrong strategy. It's just I don't get it. I'm sure it's nice to be on the receiving end of it, but I don't understand why 55 informs at a legend. Think about it. How it's obscene, really. I'm not criticising people who've gone out and got that and kept the players and stuff like that, but it's just like, as we keep labouring the point now, like, wouldn't 4 informs and a legend be like a massive amount? Wouldn't that be like a loads? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't see the need, the point, the strategy, what the overarching goal of doing it is, other than to perhaps promote the game, show it off. If you put enough games in the hit elite, you can have all this. So it's just another form of advertising by EA. But
maybe
I don't really see the need or the point. But let's have a chat about our experiences in the weekend league this last week, just gone. Because yet again, you've had a good run at it. Why don't you tell us about your sort of win-loss ratio and what you've discovered and how you felt about playing weekend league?
So I played 39 games, 18 wins, 21 losses, which is worse than last week, which was dead on 20 and 20. Was it 20? 20 and 20, yeah. So I didn't make gold 2. So it's gold free, so I'm in again for next weekend. I found a lot more games a lot tougher, and then I had to knuckle down and get those wins. I was stuck on 11 wins for a long, long time. It's very disheartening, actually. What have I discovered? Good idea to talk about that. But the weekend league is just very hard and competitive. It's the best and worst in FIFA, all given to you in one go. So it's the toughest games, so therefore that's a pro and a con. It's the most competitive games, so that's a pro and a con. I've also found that people like to quit out early as well, which I actually think is a very noble strategy, given how many games there are. If you're 3-0 down in the first half, you know full well there's very little chance of you turning that round most of the time. So why not just bloody quit and get into another game, because time's of the essence. Playing 40 games at the weekend is such hard work. I wish I'd done anything else but play the weekend league, I've got to be honest with you. I don't think what I came up with in terms of results is that terrible. 18 wins versus 21 losses, given how horrendously tough the games are. But I have to say, I didn't enjoy it. That's my take on it. Did I enjoy playing the weekend league? No, not really. I would if I was somebody getting into FUT champs and they aren't that fussed about getting to the elite. They don't think they can get there, which is perfectly reasonable thing to say, isn't it? Like most people won't get there. Get like 8 wins and then just do something else every weekend. It is incredibly encapsulating and overbearing. 40 games is just a lot, but it does separate the wheat from the chaff. So I understand why it is that number. I personally wish it was a lesser number. But of course, I will say that because I just don't want FIFA taking over my weekend. I literally played it for 8 hours, I think, on the Saturday, and then finished off the rest of the Sunday. Such hard work. And the concentration on that involved. There's a lot of meta things that go on in terms of outside of the game. You know, the amount of emotions that you have to go through, how disheartening it could be conceding a goal when you've had like 70% possession, they've only had one chance, and then they manage to hit it straight through your goalkeeper. All these kind of things happen. And of course, you get lucky as well, and you don't tend to remember those. But all in all, the weekend league, it's quite fascinating. But to me, the best way I can describe it is to anybody, it feels like gambling. As somebody who has gambled way more money than they should have in their life, and had what I would call, I've definitely had gambling problems, I don't mind saying that. The weekend league feels it feels incredibly similar, apart from the fact if you lose some games, at least you don't lose any money. But the actual addiction, the actual what it does to your stimulus, how it's stimulating it is, and how you feel compelled to keep having one more game. It feels an awful lot like playing poker or something. And then obviously you lament the time that you're spending it because you know that it's not really that fruitful. I don't give a fuck. I've won 30,000 coins. I've got 3 mega packs or whatever it is for coming as a goal 3. Don't care in the slightest. I prefer I've played 8 games and then just qualify for the league again and play some tournaments. I guess to round that part up, incredibly addictive, could be overstimulating for certain types of people, and I miss playing casual games. That was a lot to say at once. But thanks for listening, Mets. I hope I didn't ramble too much. It was actually had some good points in there.
You had good points, but I've forgotten so much about what I wanted to say. But I'll just tell you a little bit about my personal experience of this weekend. So weekend league is pretty much what FIFA 17 is all about now. Everything's based around it in terms of your week play. You're trying to qualify, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you should be playing weekend league. And I qualified quite early last week. Great. So I thought I'll take a couple of days off, and I didn't. I still played a little bit, but not as much as I would have done if I needed to qualify. And I didn't play Friday night because I had to pick up my father-in-law from the airport. So I waited until Saturday when my wife and the father-in-law went out. So I thought I'd have some peace and quiet to play about midday. And I was just sat in front of my Xbox and I just couldn't bring myself to play. I had to really, really try and motivate myself because I just knew I wasn't going to enjoy the experience regardless of how well I was doing. And of course, you perversely then have, well, you're not enjoying it that much when you're winning because you kind of hope and expect to win. And then when you're losing, it's obviously really bad. There's a very interesting case study to be had here. I don't think it would be an issue if it was 10 or 20 games. But because it's 40, it's almost like I felt like, why bother starting? Because I know I'm not going to play 40 games.
Yeah.
It's the third time I've played the weekend league, and I've not played more than 22 matches, or 24, I beg your pardon. And that was this weekend. And I actually managed to put in 24 games. And yeah, I just found it really daunting, like the prospect of like, oh, if I play, I might lose, and I don't want to lose, which is just really, really strange, really strange mental block that I had. But I eventually got going. And long story short, played 24 matches, won 12, lost 12, which is almost identical to what I'd done the previous 2 weekend leagues, which was 11 and 11 both times. So I'm consistent, at least. And the good thing is there was only one game where I got an absolute pasting. Some guy just had the perfect counter for my formation and was just absolutely wrecking me. But got over that hump and carried on. And then, I just find it makes me feel and behave really, really weirdly, the weekend league.
Yeah, I mean, that's even one thing I haven't mentioned myself, actually, in that kind of what I was saying, but I have to say that FIFA, the weekend league itself, it sounds dead weird. It sounds like we're at a AA meeting or something, or a Gamblers Anonymous meeting. You know, it just genuinely brings the worst out of me. It makes me angry. It makes me get upset. It makes me throw my pad into the sofa, thankfully not on the television, which I'm sure some people out there do, or throw it at the desk or whatever. It makes me turn into this rabid animal, basically. It really affects my ego. And I don't actually think it's that good for my health to play the weekend league specifically. And I would even say before that I'd say, FIFA is no good for playing for my health because it makes me feel like such and such. But the weekend league really turns it up a notch with the pressure and all that kind of thing. And this isn't an unusual experience, I don't think, for a lot of men out there playing FIFA 17 and getting really competitive. It's really, really hard. We all want to do really, really well. And obviously, sometimes we feel like it's not going our way. And sometimes we feel like we're unlucky, which I'm sure if somebody observed it sometimes, 3 times out of 10, perhaps, we might be unlucky, but other times we just don't want to lose, basically. But the emotional side of it, it's a roller coaster. And it's like you say, you're sitting there saying, I don't really want to do it, because actually, theoretically, what you're thinking of is, I'm going to spend time doing something that is, it's like a pain. It's a chore. But
yeah, it feels like the feeling on Sunday night you get when you're going to go to a job you don't enjoy on Monday morning. It's kind of what it feels like. And that's weird for me because in essence, I think the weekend league is really good. But the actual experience of it has been to the contrary, unfortunately. And one thing I want to talk about, and I apologise to people watching thinking, you've been talking about this for a while, but it's really important, is emotional intelligence. Knowing when to step away, knowing when something's bad for you, basically, knowing what you should do in certain situations when things aren't quite right. And I want to just pull up some examples because I get a lot of my community feedback from Twitter and from the Football 365 forum, and everyone on there just moans about how AIDS the weekend league is.
Yeah.
But we're all compelled to do it. We want the rewards, we want the kudos, we want the stature, we want the bragging rights. So everyone's compelled to play it, but deep down they probably don't really want to, whether it's because of their overall enjoyment or just the daunting task ahead of playing 40-odd matches. And if I go back to our first episode of FUTStock this season, when I begged the question, is 12 hours approximately, which is what you need to complete 40 matches, too much? And at the time I said no. I thought that's probably in keeping with my normal rate of FIFA. But it's not just the 40 matches you're playing at the weekend. It's the qualification. If you don't reach goal during the weekend league, you're probably going to have to spend another anywhere between 2 and 5 hours trying to qualify in the week. And then, of course, it's the impact it's having on the people around you, because if you're playing something over the weekend, which is the most sought after significant period of free time you have, disposable time, you should be spending at least some of that with friends and family, your loved ones, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. And I try my best to, hence why I'm only playing 20-odd matches every weekend, but it's really all-encompassing. And just talking about some examples of really bad reaction to the weekend league, and I hope he doesn't mind us sort of singling him out as a case study here. But our friend of the show, Righteous Onyx, who was the guy who broke the news about the Chemgate scenario a few months ago, at the end of FIFA 16, he's very into the weekend league, and he sent out a tweet that really perturbed me a little bit, whereby he basically said that he was really angry and upset, and he just smashed his controller because he lost to someone in the weekend league who he felt he should be smashing based on how the other guy was playing. He basically got done by a noob, by the sounds of it. And I think we've all felt like that from time to time. So I'm certainly not singling out Righteous Onyx in this respect, saying he's a bad guy. He's a really cool guy. We really like him. But he's a good representation of probably the average person in our community, perhaps a late teenager, early 20s, plays it really competitively, really hardcore, and suffers these tremendous emotional ups and downs when he's playing FIFA. And obviously it's costing money if he's wrecking pads, and then he's compelled to share his experience on the internet with complete strangers, almost like it's a badge of honor. Look, I'm so hardcore about this game, I smash controls when it doesn't go my way, come and feel sorry for me, validate me, whatever it is. And if he carries on playing FIFA and feeling like that every time he loses to a dickhead or a shithouse, he'll be grey and very, very ill by his mid-20s.
Yeah, I am saying, I am holding my hands up. I actually think that this is such a strange show, like the way we've let out, but this is all the truth. I'm interested to talk about the truth rather than trying to skate around it. People know I've been negative about the game, and I don't certainly feel that way anymore. Obviously, with my formations, all this kind of stuff, I've certainly tried to get into the system. I actually genuinely think FIFA's bad for my health. And when I say bad for my health, I don't mean it's like eating burgers every day and that kind of thing. I just mean like it's like a form of, it's an activity that I know isn't like wholesome for me. It's like hanging out with a friend who is going to try and get you to do something bad. Like, they're a friend who you enjoy their company, but they always try and like get you to do something that you're not very comfortable doing, or everybody knows that kind of person. Or they share opinions that you don't really want to hear, or they share too much about their life, and you need to get away from them.
It's like having a mate who's really sound to you, but they're in the BNP.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, they have something about them that's savoury, and obviously it has an effect on the way that they talk about things and that. And obviously, or somebody who like pretends that like they're your mate and stuff like that, but behind their back they say all kinds of bad shit about you. Obviously, that isn't something that's directly bad for your health, like eating burgers or never exercising, that kind of thing, or drinking too much alcohol. But it does have an effect on your psyche. It does have an effect on you as a person. It also has an effect on your mental well-being as well. And I think that there's a lot of people probably playing FIFA, and I'll put my hands up and say that I've certainly been one of them, and I probably am one of them, that these people who have like undiagnosed kind of conditions that they need a bit of help with, because we pledge so much of our self-esteem to whether we win or lose a match, and it makes this monkey brain part of us go haywire, and people send you messages saying that like, oh God, you're well looking then, or oh, you shit you are really, oh God, if I saw you in the street I'd bat you. These are all not unknown things that happen in the game. These are all happening to everybody else. But just think about what it does. It doesn't happen in Call of Duty. It doesn't happen in Battlefield. I can't think of any other game where this happens, but in FIFA it does. And it's all very philosophical, and probably talking a bit more about like ourselves as people, but it is an important conversation to have, and the truth is that like video game addiction can have these side effects where it makes you do something that really ultimately you think you enjoy but you're not enjoying. I think both of us feel the same way about that, actually. Would you have been happy if not to have played the weekend league this week?
No, I would have been angry with myself for not doing it. It's almost like I shied away from a challenge, which is exactly what it is. And that's why I like it. That's why I play FIFA, particularly online. I'd get no satisfaction out of playing the CPU. I like the competitive element. I just find that it's become so competitive in regards to how it's making people behave in terms of how they play the game, how they react socially, like messages send you. Like, for instance, I played a guy, I've got the footage, I might even put it into the podcast.
Okay.
Right, he played 5 at the back. He played 5 at the back and part of the bus. He had 70% of the ball, managed to dupe me 1-0. And I just couldn't get the ball off him. He was just good at keeping the ball. He was like holding it up, not just with like a target man, but everywhere on the pitch. This really weird anti-football he was playing. And I never came close to scoring. And as soon as he won, he sent me a message saying, lol, get wrecked. Oh, shit, you're absolutely shit. I'm just like, fucking hell. I should be sending him shit. He shouldn't be sending me shit.
The thing is, it's just so classless, isn't it? It really turns people into cunts, FIFA does. And online gaming in general does, but FIFA really does. like, sending you a message in longer records, it's not enough to beat you at the game. You have to be humiliated as well, and that's hard to take, actually.
Well, that's the kind of thing, if I was within touching distance of that person, they'd be dead. And I'm not even joking, because I was so steamed, I would have seriously harmed the dude. People are so brave online because there's no repercussions, but it's like we've played poker in casinos, and we've definitely been a bit of a tart when it comes to like needling people when they're on the wrong side of a hand. And I very easily could have got my head smashed in numerous times by
So, I can imagine that is absolutely true. I can imagine that's true.
Imagine if you were playing like within a couple of feet of these people, how often it would end up in fights. It's just absolutely insane. There's a really negative, toxic culture around online gaming in general. Certainly not unique to FIFA, so we're not slagging off.
No, I don't think it's unique to FIFA either.
A lot of FIFA players tend to be a certain age, so they're particularly brash and obnoxious. So that's the thing. But just to sort of round this up, I'm a fan of the Weekend League, despite everything we just said. I'm just merely throwing out there my experience of how it makes me feel from time to time. And the reason why it makes me feel like that is because I love it so much. If I didn't care, then I wouldn't feel so bad when things don't go my way. And it's because you really enjoy it when things go well, that it stings that much more when it goes against you, I think. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfectly reasonable. I don't love the Weekend League, actually. I do wonder just how much time I should put into it. I certainly don't think I think it's worth playing, but I'm not going to play 40 matches again. I can't keep doing it to myself. It's too much. I hate the way I react to it and the way that I have to just keep playing. I don't like that feeling. I can walk away from pretty much anything, but not that. I could have played Civilization 6 instead. I would have had so much. I would have thoroughly enjoyed that time.
Yeah, well, coming up to Christmas, there's going to be loads of new games, so we can't say hand on heart we're going to play FIFA 100% of the time, which means the Weekend League's out the window. I've got Forza 3. I'm getting Dead Rising 4. I've got Titanfall 2. I've got loads of stuff to occupy myself with. The Weekend League will have to go at some point. And this tends to happen to me quite often around Christmas. I take a break for a couple of weeks from FIFA and just do trading when I'm watching TV or something, but I don't play matches for a few weeks. Nothing wrong with that. Totally fine. In fact, it's probably come at a good time because I'm off to Prague in a couple of weeks. I won't be able to play for at least 2 weeks. So
take your Xbox with you.
I wouldn't be surprised some people did that. I can't miss the Weekend League. My monthly rank will go through the floor. But yeah, be interested to hear what our listeners think of the Weekend League and how emotionally testing it is, not just in terms of your actual success and reward, but how do you feel after a 40-match campaign? It's pretty exhausting, and I haven't gotten even close to finishing 40 matches yet. And I thought I'd be pissing it every week when the news of this came out. So, yeah, it's not working out quite the way I thought it would for me personally. It's just too intense. I think the one thing it's made me significantly aware of that there isn't a worthwhile sort of casual way to play FIFA 17 Ultimate Team this year. Everything's very competitive. You've got divisions that requires you to play like a dick. You have the Weekend League that requires you to play like a dick, and the FUT Draft that requires you to play like a dick. And it's all because of fairly significant rewards at the end of it. If those weren't there, we'd just be skilling and dicking around and just playing good football like we did when we first started playing Ultimate Team. It's the competitive part, which is on one side very attractive, is kind of harming the overall system of things, I think, a little bit.
I mean, obviously, I think this is a bit of tea and sympathy for both of us, really. It's a conversation we've needed for a long time. And obviously, to bring our listeners into it and hear their side of it would be fruitful as well. Because actually, on paper, the Weekend League is a good thing. And getting more rewards is a good thing. You can't get away from that. Because once upon a time, back in FIFA 13, it was so frigging hard to build squads and stuff like that. You had to buy packs to get where we are. And we don't have to now. That's the great thing. But on the other hand, that means that the games have got so horrendously competitive. It's just such hard work, and you can't blame people for doing part of the buzz, 5 at the back, holding the ball all game, because obviously why give you a chance to play? They haven't got an obligation to let you play. They've got an obligation to win for themselves, and that's how we all feel. So maybe, maybe we should just retire for the weekend league prematurely and get on with it. Obviously not going to happen.
We'll just play online friendlies for the next 12 months, but never.
Yeah, never going to happen.
No, we'll be playing the weekend league next week.
I'll definitely play the next week, but like I say, I don't want to do 40 matches again. I don't care about having 30,000 coins. Just doesn't bother me.
And with that, why don't you tell us a little bit about the system you've been using in the weekend league? Because people have been having lots of success with your narrow tactics. So are you still using them?
Yeah, still using 4-1-2-1-2-2 narrow with ultra wide defence, which some people hate for some reason, but I love it for possession. I'm still doing exactly the same kind of things. I found it to be a bit more difficult this week to make it count in some games, the actual possession side of things, because it seems like I kept conceding goals in like the first 5 minutes, which is so bloody frustrating. And obviously that means I have to change my plan slightly. One thing I have found is that really in this game, if 4-1-2-1-2 you come up against that or a similar formation, then go for a 4-3-3. 4-3-2-1 with the inside wingers, which I think we mentioned before we should go with that, but I said the 3-4-2-1 version, but I think against some players you can get done in the midfield for that one. So that's my other thing. I'm going to come up with a system. It seems to be a lot of people using it, and I can see why, because it's a perfect tonic in a lot of ways, but I'm going to try out 4-3-2-1 against certain players now and keep them central, inside forwards, because you don't need anybody to drift out wide. Just don't need it.
No, it's absolutely true. I think we've said this before about the most difficult defenders to get by in this game are the quick ones, and they're left backs, right backs, respectively. So if let's say you have a team that has someone like a Ronaldo or Sanchez or Hazard, you're deliberately then putting your best player against their best defensive player, which is going to result in a stalemate a lot of the time. Those players would have more impact going through the central line against slower players, so where you can exploit their pace. So I like the idea of you using narrow left and right forwards and trying to play those wide players more through the middle. I'm very keen to see how you get on with that one.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. My preferred system is the 4-1-2-1-2 system, just because I've got it to work so well for me. The one thing I will say is that if you're not, especially weekend league, if you're not using ultra defensive or part of the buzz at some points, then you will lose terribly against some players. Some players are just so good. The one aspect that I see happen, it's way more common for me to face somebody who's incredible up front than they are at the back. That is still the thing now. After 80 games of the weekend league, I'm very confident in saying that a lot of these players they're terrible at defending, but they're unbelievable up front. So of course, they lead less chances to score, which makes it quite tough. And there's the odd player who's great at both, and obviously they'll just smash it to pieces, of course. But you need to use ultra defensive. You need to drop back a little bit, because otherwise you're going to get countered to buggery. And
buggery.
Because the problem you've got with this engine right now, like if we're going to talk about it in terms of its technicals, interceptions are incredibly overpowered or useful. I mean, interceptions have always been pretty shit, really, in FIFA. And then last year they were all right, and now they're even better. Like, your players will intercept on their own accord. They're very overpowered. So when you take something like part of the ball zone counter-attack, where teams get narrow and tight and intercept frequently and press, then that obviously means it's a very easy system to exploit. And by exploit, I don't mean that like it's hacking in some way or that it's like cheating. I don't mean that at all. I just mean that the game engine just lends itself to this kind of thing. And I think also with the fact that dribbling is harder and all that kind of stuff, that interceptions and all that just make it so much tougher. And it means that you're so much more likely to have an attack fall down and be counter-attacked. So counter-attacking itself, part of the buzz is the problem. The way that counter-attacking works as a tactic is the problem. And the being hit at speed, and then the amount of times in any formation that I've used, that all of a sudden there's a right winger just up there, and up pops a smiling Demba Ba and he just puts it away. It happens so often, and I think that's I think a lot of people have that experience, and that comes from this system, that kind of thing. So you got to watch out for him and play the game as well as playing the player. There is nothing wrong with certain players. Just start off as an ultra defensive and then work your way up as you feel more comfortable and you get access to the ball. If you haven't got the ball, why are you not playing deep? You don't know how good they are. You've no idea.
Yeah, I think this is one thing a lot of people don't adjust their auto tactics on the fly. They'll like set themselves to attacking at the beginning and leave it there all game. Or, right, I've just scored a goal, I'll leave it on defensive the entire match. Whereas what they should be doing is, when I've got the ball, I'm on attack or ultra attacking. And when I've not got the ball, I should be on defensive and ultra defensive. And even when I've got the ball up front, I might want to go ultra defensive just to make sure my back four don't come up to the halfway line.
Yeah, precisely. There's nothing wrong with that either, especially if you're playing possession. You back, all that's going to happen is that your team shifts up slowly. Doesn't mean they're not going to shift up at all. And also what will happen is your back four is likely to stay flat rather than your two left backs just bomb up the pitch, especially when you're playing with a narrow formation. That can get you into some kind of trouble. So yeah, just use a lot more. Be careful that if you've got your custom tactics set right, you like it the way they are, that's fine. But make sure ultra defensive, attacking, ultra attacking, staying on balance at certain parts. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. But I genuinely don't think there's anything wrong with starting a game on ultra defensive. And there's some players you have to start out with part of the buzz because they're too good.
Yeah, it's true. And you are, as you have been in pretty much every FIFA I can remember, very vulnerable from the kickoff. Because once they jerk a player into a certain direction, it makes your entire team lopsided. So if they're good at dribbling off kickoffs,
yes,
then you're very, very vulnerable. So having ultra defensive at least will create more of a barricade for people to get through, put it that way.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with using it.
Let me tell you about my journey with formations over the last week or so. So I tried your 4-1-2-1-2 narrow and liked it, but thought I could tweak this ever so slightly to suit the way I like to play more. So I didn't like the fact that I was having to play CDMs in that formation who were a bit lumpy and weren't as good at getting involved in the attack as I would like. So I went 4-3-1-2.
Yes, I remember.
Using someone like Kante as that middle central midfielder means he's equally adept at being the CDM and going forward. So that worked great. So I'm kind of like down with that. I like it. It's just getting the right personnel to do the job and had some relative success. But I find that it's good to have a range of different formations, even if it's only tweaks, especially when you start going on losing runs in the weekend league. You change it up and it gives you a bit of a fresh impetus on things. So I found that I was getting done on the counter a lot with that formation, despite it being very good going forward. So I decided, well, I want to retain all the possession in the middle. I want more security at the back. So I went 5 at the back, unbelievably. Shit house.
Oh, God.
I went 5-2-1-2, which provides all the sort of central dominance you need. So you need 2 central midfielders who are box-to-box, so do defensive and offensive work. 1 cam who you do not want to come back under any circumstances. They're just there as a pivot. And then a blend of pace and power up front works well for me. So having a centre forward like a Mandzukic, or I use Crespo, even though he's quite quick, he's more of a target man for me. And then a pacey striker like Nusa, who drifts wide, put crosses in and break the back line. And that worked great. Really like that. But my pride has sort of told me to stop using it because I preach about people playing 5 at the back. But the way I play it, I use it more offensively, so I can use really good wing backs in the formation, players like Layun and Florenzi or Bruno Perez.
I actually don't think it sounds that bad. I mean, a lot of the times my full-backs end up being wing-backs anyway with the way that I play. They end up getting right in the middle of the pitch, which is one of the reasons that makes me work so well. My system works well. I think it sounds perfectly reasonable. Obviously, what it does mean is if you go to ultra defensive, you've got 5 men at the back.
Yeah, exactly. So the way you look at it, when you're defending, it's 5 at the back. When you're attacking, it's 5 in midfield. and that works really well. If you can play any of the narrow formations that you like, you can play 5-2-1-2 really well. It'll just work just naturally. And then our friends over at the Foot Weekly pod, they put up a team that they've made with Inform Alsoma, where they were playing 4-2-3-1 narrow, and I was like, okay, this isn't a formation I've actually dabbled in this year.
Somebody sent me a tweet saying 4-2-3-1 narrow with my custom tactics and all that. The system that I suggested works amazingly well, which I can see why it would work actually.
Yeah, so I've been playing with that. Really like it. It's incredibly attacking. It just requires rapid tiki-taka type of football with the occasional just putting on the brakes just to bring other people into play, or changing direction to sort of dummy and then pass the ball on to somebody else. But if you're good at passing and being patient, it's a fantastic formation. Really, really enjoy that.
Maybe I should try that actually.
Yeah, I think you get on with it really well, to be honest. It just requires 3 very good goal-scoring cams to work, because you'll get more chances with the cams than you will with your striker.
That's a good point. That's the only thing I do like having 2 up top in this version.
Yeah.
With how powerful free balls are and how much time you can get on the ball up there now, it just makes a lot of sense. That's the only thing I'd miss with it. Unless I played 3 Roberto Firminos as the attacking midfielders.
Well, that's the thing. You want players like that. So the way Liverpool play in real life now is exactly what you're trying to emulate with that kind of style. And it does work well. I mean, I use players like, want to watch Juliano, Marek Hamzic, and who's the other one I'm using? Ava Benega. Those are the type of players you want. Good goal scorers, great passing, great dribbling. And most importantly, is that ability to be able to change direction quickly. So balance and agility are top of the list when I'm looking for cams for that formation. So something for people to ponder over there. But I think I've come to the conclusion now that I'm all about narrow formations on the back of your revelation a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, there's no benefit. And also, target man play, forget about it. Just if you could get a through ball through to somebody, or get them to get in behind, hurts people a lot more than target man play. It just does.
Well, I find as long as I have them stay central and keep them unbalanced, they do both. They'll try and break the back line, and where appropriate, they'll just lean on a defender to receive the ball as a target man. That works great for me. Crespo's good for that because he's strong enough to be a bit of a target man. He's also quite quick, so he can beat the back line unless he's playing against Smalling and Bailly. And you've got problems, but
Smalling, Bailly, Kingsley Coman, he can fuck off. What a shit player he is. Everybody uses him.
So, whilst we're on the point of things that we've discovered in the last week, one thing that I've picked up on, and this is something that requires a fair bit of patience, and we know how important stamina is in this game in general, because you can get to the 70th minute and some of your key players can be absolutely out of the game if you've been running ragged all match. And it's good to have at least 1 or 2 players in your team who can extend people, get them chasing you to run down their stamina and give you a bit more of pitch control by opening up gaps for players if you can make long runs with speedsters and whatnot. But there's another way of draining stamina. It's only really become apparent to me in the last few weeks, and I haven't noticed this as much in previous versions as it seems to be apparent in FIFA 17. But when you're holding the ball up and you've got your back to somebody, so you're using your R trigger to keep the ball, and you're shielding the ball, leaning into someone, and they can't get to you. It's almost like you put a shield up. So unless they bring 2 players into play to get the ball off you, you're untackleable. But all the while that they're pressing against you to try and retrieve the ball, their stamina is going down rapidly. I don't know if you've noticed this.
Yeah.
Like massively, like they're running full blast acceleration. So it's probably a good idea at certain parts of the game, particularly when you're 1-0 up, for example, and you're trying to decide whether to go for more goals or play it more cautiously. If you've got players who've got decent body strength, just hold down the trigger and protect the ball just fleetingly a few moments during the match, and you'll drain stamina off whichever player they're trying to press you with enormously. And it's a great way of running down stamina. So let's say if I have a normal, say, 4-3-3 team, and you're playing against me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which players would you like to be knackered the most out of my team to the point where they can't perform?
Well, your forward line.
Exactly, wingers, right?
Yeah.
Let's say I've got a shit up front three, and I've got Hazard and someone else on the right. It's like, God, I wish they were tired so they'd stop giving me shit. If you ping your ball out to your fullbacks or one of your wider midfielders, and say get the ball in a reasonably safe position on the pitch, say near the halfway line, and trying to track them to close you down with the winger that you want to tire, and you just hold the ball up, and you can drain the stamina off these wingers so fast. And wingers generally in this game don't have high stamina, and that's kind of the balance that they put in. If wingers had the stamina of midfielders, they'd be unstoppable. But if you're playing full pelt for the entire 90 minutes, your wingers will be dead towards the end. But you can get them there a little bit quicker if you hold up the ball and get them to lean on you. So that's just something that I wanted to share to see if that's of use to our listeners. But yeah, it's always been there, but it seems far more significant in FIFA 17, I think.
I think it sounds spot on. I'm with you all there all day long. Get it done. There's just no excuse. Get it done.
The key is to not do it with people who don't have decent strength, though. So you're talking probably high 70s, early 80s at least to hold the ball. Otherwise, they'll just step right through you, which obviously will put you in significant danger.
Marwan Fellaini and Wanyama are utterly amazing at holding the ball up. They're so good.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine playing target men in midfield. It's just a bit of a nightmare.
It's all good. I like it. So with that, moving on, then we need to talk about the pre-crash crash, which probably also helped the fact that Hazard became the player of the month and not Joe Allen, who we hotly tipped. And everybody kept saying it was going to be Hazard, who I didn't hear anybody say it was Joe Allen apart from us, to be honest, and it proves they were right. So what effect has this had on the market?
Well, it's not been a crash in the traditional sense. And I think Ultimate Team's been kind of going this way for the last couple of years, whereby in the past it was a very stark, apparent overnight crash. This has been a slow burner for the last couple of weeks, whereby people are sort of planning a little bit ahead in advance, and prices have slowly gone down like a really extended curve rather than a massive dip. But I think we're probably in the midst right now of as bad as it's going to get. We're recording this on Tuesday night, so tomorrow might be a bit different when striker Ronaldo likely comes out in Team of the Week. But that might cause a temporary 24-hour dip. But most elite players are down 25-30%, and people are still asking, should I hold out to buy somebody? Is it going to get worse? I don't honestly think it can get much worse. You might be looking at another 5 to 10% swing, but it could go either way. If you wait to try and get that extra 5-10%, it could just as easily go up 5 or 10% whilst you were trying to go even lower. People won't give things away just because there's a crash as far as the community is concerned. People don't give away Ronaldos and Pogba's and Di Maria's and whatever. So if it's 25-30% down than what it was, it's probably a good time to buy them. I think the type of players we're going to see really dip whenever they eventually do a Black Friday promotion will be some of the informs people have been previously holding on to that have some significant value, let's say 50k and up. They might suddenly come onto the market, an influx of those go on sale, and those particular cars might get a dip. But I think the market's as flat as it's probably going to be at this point. So that kind of brings us on to what we want to talk about next, which is a Black Friday shopping list. And I think this is where you can make the most money, is being organized in specific targets that you want to acquire and just watch them. So make a short list of players you want, whether it's 1 or 2 or 10, 20, whatever it happens to be. Make a list, track the price of what they were a couple of weeks ago, what they are today, and hopefully what you would like them to be. And just keep an eye on the movement using Foothead or footbin.com. And just be very organized in what you want to go buy. I've decided that I'm pretty much all in on getting a legend cam for these formations that we've been trying out. The reason why is I want more flexibility and being able to play Some certain novelty league players, like my want to watch Juliano, I won't be able to play him in more teams, not just my Russian league team. So if I can get, I've already got Crespo, and if I can get another Cam in, he's got double links there with any squad that I want to come up with, and it'll just make life a whole lot easier for me. And Okocha looks exactly the type of play that I want for my system. Pacey, really good finishing, long shots, skills for days, high balance and agility. And he's going to be about 300k, so it's in the realms of possibility.
Interesting. Well, who would you like? Would you like to know my list then?
I would. Who are you after for Black Friday?
Well, I've got my eye on one player in particular because he'd be absolutely incredible in my system, and I can't wait to use him. David Luiz.
I can't recommend him more. You know how you were saying when you came up with your formation, and that you wanted someone who can pass it out of the back, and you went for Daley Blind. And I tried him, and whilst he's excellent, generally speaking, you just are ever so slightly vulnerable to pacey strikers on the counter-attack.
Yeah, you're right.
So basically, you can't chase anyone down. If he gets past you, you won't catch him with Daley Blind, but David Luiz will. Because of his power, he's more lengthy in terms of his stature. So he's got that massive grab circle.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he's quite quick. And on top of that, he can pass as well. So he does the Daley Blind job, but has much better physical attributes.
Well, the other player I went for to replace Daley Blind, because obviously he isn't quite good enough to be in an elite team, I don't think, to be honest with you. Jan Vertonghen, he's fucking monstrous.
Yeah.
And he's a really good passer as well. Amazing. Very overlooked this year because I think he's got less than 70 pace. I think a lot of people are writing him off. But,
yeah, he hasn't had a good couple of seasons, so he's kind of like fallen behind Toby Alderweireld in terms of the popularity stakes. And now they've made him under 70 pace. No one wants to know, but he's still very good if you check out the card.
Yeah, he certainly is. I highly recommend him. I'd get amongst it. Obviously, Alderweireld goes for loads of money. God knows why. He is good, don't get me wrong, but he's not. I wouldn't say he was as good on paper as David Luiz on this, but he goes for more money.
There seems to be like a funny opinion about David Luiz, like he's a cheap option to have because he's a bit unpredictable but volatile in real life. Obviously, that doesn't reflect an Ultimate Team. If he makes a mistake, it's your fault. So his attributes alone should be convincing enough to make you want him. As far as I'm concerned, he's the best Premier League centre-back. Some people disagree. They'd say Smalling or Koscielny or Bailly or whatever, but
it's not Smalling. Fucking hell.
David Luiz is everything you need in a centre-back, and you have the flexibility of playing him anywhere up to the midfield because he's got enough attributes in all the right areas to do so.
Yeah, David Luiz is definitely one of my buys. I'd like to buy Kante back. I sold him for about 40k. I could give him about 20 now. So that was very sensible. And he's exceptional midfielder, isn't he?
Yes, that's that high interception like you were talking about. Kante has it. He just nibbles away at everything. And if you like break down his sort of central defensive midfielder stats, he's very good, but there's been better. But he just has everything in the right place. It's like they've almost made a new type of card with Kante that wasn't there before. I can't think of anyone who is much of a pest as he is in this game.
Yeah, Kante's wicked, so get him. There's a couple more I should be getting rid of. I've got loads of coins, really. I haven't spent hardly any coins on players. You know, one of my biggest purchases has been Jan Vertonghen for about 3k.
That's great. That's the thing with all these squad building challenges, though. It's just so easy to build, not elite teams, but very good teams for almost no money.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you're doing, so great.
I really am. I'm sure there's somebody else I want, but I can't think of who it is right now. Maybe one of the more elite pacey strikers, but Rashford, Batshuayi, Callum Wilson have all been doing a stellar job up front.
I'd quite like Dybala, but I'm not prepared to pay the going rate for him just so I can have a bit more pace in my team. And it wouldn't suit my style anyway. If I'm slow build-up play through the middle, I don't need someone who can break the back line. I need players who have got skills and balance and agility who can move the ball around quickly. So a novelty, a luxury, I should say, but not top of my list at this time.
Okay, well, with that then, I think it's time for us to tell the world who our Novelty In-Form of the week is. Now, Matt, this was my shout.
It
But
is.
you know exactly who it is and who we're going to be talking about. So I'd like you to tell us about it in the form of a striptease.
All right, so we're going for another striker.
Ooh,
This team of the week just gone. We're talking about team of the week 9 specifically here. A really good team of the week. Lots of cheap value, quite a bit of high value, particularly with these hazard squad builders and whatnot, which is a massive effect on the market. You try and get a Belgian In-Form now, absolute chaos. But that did leave the market open for some of the other players going very cheap. So we've gone for a Serie A striker who is Italian. He plays for Torino. And he's not someone who was on my radar prior to FIFA 17, but he's smashing them in. It's Andrea Belletti of Torino.
It's Bellotti, but you were almost right.
What did I say?
Belletti.
Belletti.
That's the one. But yes, my goodness. Now, there's one thing to note about this guy is his normal In-Form. He's normally a 77 and basically got high 70s for most things that he needs. Pace, dribbling, shooting, physicals. He goes up to 83 because, let's face it, all those In-Forms in the last version were all a big rip-off and they barely had any increase. And, of course, Kemgate was in there. They've started to improve them massively. So now he goes from being a late 70s on everything to a early 80s on everything, which gives us a really good base to work with. He's like a soup you find in the kitchen, and then you add some chilies to it, a little bit of spinach and some onion, and it changes the whole complexion of it. Bellotti has got lots going for him, and it all depends on what chemistry style you're going to play, because he is a discard In-Form, he's Italian, and he's from Serie A. I mean, an Italian In-Form is always going to be quite useful, especially with the way squad builds are going now. He might just turn up one day and be one of those ones you submit to get an incredible player of the month. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. But let's talk about the specific abilities here, because, like I said, there's a good base there with the In-Form, its increased stats. But once you start playing around with Ken styles, we'll start to see some very, very good results with this. For a 10k card, at least anyway, it's absolutely fantastic.
I think he's awesome, I do. And obviously the decision then is whether you're going to use Hunter or Hawk or something of that ilk, because he's got everything that you need to build up upon. And in my opinion, I would go for good old Hawk, because then you get a bit more of a boost on his physicals as well.
Yeah, I'm just looking at him on foothead.com now with Hawk. So let's just break down some of the standout attributes. So positioning goes up to 96, so he's always going to be in the right place. Acceleration and speed 87, 86, which is in line with someone like Crespo, for example, who I'm using. That's enough pace to cause most defensive some trouble. And then finishing of 90, shot power 92, so that's a cannon, and long shots of 82 and 90 for volley. So basically anything in the box this guy's mopping up is going to be dead easy. What else have we got? 84 ball control, 88 heading, 95 jumping, and 87 for strength. So this guy's a little powerhouse. The only critique I have with the whole card is only 3-star skills, but I don't know what you expect for a 10k striker. You're just not going to get that. So for anyone who's perhaps dabbling into making their first expensive improvement to a Serie A team, you've got lots of options. So many good strikers In-Form and Serie A now. You have Immobile, you have Kalinic, Icardi, but they're all a bit more expensive because a couple of them have more than one In-Form. But Bellotti at 10k, can't go wrong. This guy will bang them in, no problem.
I think he's a great shout, and actually, if he was only a little bit better at passing, I would play him as a CF. Oof. Because he's quite strong, isn't he, as well? So you get that and be able just to lay it off, but I just don't think he's passing.
You could put Deadeye on him, and then he does become the CF of your dreams.
I'm not quite sure. I don't think it's going to work, but it's a way for shouts, isn't it? One thing is, if you just want to turn him into a pacer, you can stick Hunter on him, and that turns him into a monstrous fast finisher, or Hawk balances him out even more. It turns him into an elite player, a bit like Benzema. That's what I see with him anyway.
Very good. I don't think anyone can go wrong there. 10k, you got a really good player you can use even your first team, an impact sub, and then you've got a spare discard IF for future squad building challenges that need one. Sounds great to me.
Sounds great to me as well. Now, with that, mates, that is the end of another episode.
Wow, that went incredibly quick, and we've probably spent at least 2/3 of it talking about FUT champs, so hopefully...
And consoling each other over our records and whatnot.
Yes, but deep down, we like FUT champs, but we're just having a bit of emotional trouble.
Indeed. So I think it's time for me to say to you that I'll need to on. Sorry, it's just so ridiculous. As tradition would have it, I have to thank you for coming along.
No, thank you. I came. It was great.
And of course, it's time for you to see us out with your passage and yet stolen goodbye.
It is, folks. Thank you for joining us yet again, and good luck in the Black Friday crash that's coming, or we're already in the midst of. Hope your shopping goes well, and of course, don't have nightmares. We'll catch you in a week or so's time.
Bye.